Hey everyone, Eric Lundquist from Green Streets at Groundwork Lawrence here. And since we had so much fun last week talking about how you find out where you're going to put a tree, I thought maybe this week we could talk about the basics of how to plant a tree. But I'm not the star of today's video. The star of today's video is my little friend Herman. Herman here is an American elm hybrid. He's been my faithful little companion on my porch for a few years now. But I think it's about time to plant him. Recently, my neighbors cut down a few trees in their yard, and it really opened up a lot of sunlight over here. And so I think I've got just the perfect spot for him now. Now, I think I like this spot, but what I'm going to do first to visualize it, just so that I know for sure before I put my shovel in the ground, is put a little flag in so I can see where it might look like when I have my tree. That's better. Now that we've got a little flag in the ground, I can properly visualize where I want the base of this tree to be and how wide I need to dig the hole. Next, you're going to want to take the first inch of soil from about a foot or two away from where you placed your flag. Let me show you what that looks like. Alright, now that we got that cleaned up a little bit, we can see the space we're working with. Now before we jump the gun and dig a hole for little Herman here, we're going to want to check Herman and his pot and see how deep he needs us to dig the hole. Now, poor little Herman has been in this container for a while, so we're going to want to check and make sure that we don't have roots that are wrapping around, and we're going to want to make sure that we find a good spot for the root flare. Getting rid of a little bit of moss on the top, and we can see right here a little bit of root wrap from his old container, but pretty clearly we've got root flare. So Herman's top that needs to be level with the ground is about right here where his first lateral roots are. So let's get digging. All right, now that's looking a little bit more like a proper home for our tree friend. We've dug out a few gallons of soil here. Little word to the wise from someone who plants a lot of trees: keep a bucket or a tarp on handy, because even if the soil that you've dug up for the tree isn't really good for growing trees, it might be useful for building some infrastructure to protect them. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now, if you want to give that little tree an extra good chance to grow up strong, you might want to fill a little bit of that hole back in with some compost. I got a bag of compost from my friendly neighborhood composters, Roots Compost, out of Lowell. And they take my food scraps every week, and every once in a while will give me a nice big bag of rich compost. Today I'm going to use that bag to plant little Herman. Now, as you guys can see from the last cut I did, I took a little bit of the dirt away from Herman just because I wanted to be sure where his root flare is. And you can see it very clearly right here. So what I've done with this shovel on the ground is I've laid it flat so that I can tell where the line of my ground is going to be. Alright, and that's got us a good visual on where we want our root flare to be. Now I'm going to get this tree buried a little bit, and we'll see you in just a second. Alright, so we've done a little bit of digging and burying, and we've got Herman here nice and in the ground. If we go down to the base, we can still see the root flare right there at the top. Now at this point, if we were to leave it alone, it would be enough for the tree to live. But there's two things we can do that'll ensure that the tree has a little bit easier of a time growing, and I'm going to show you how to do those. The first thing that we want to do is create a berm, and that's going to be a little layer of dirt that goes an inch or so high all around the tree. And how that's going to help the tree is it's going to create a little basin so that it can hold water. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Now, there's no need to try to create the Great Lakes here, but look at this. A nice shallow berm, and when we take our bucket of water, there. Now what that's going to do is it's going to hold the water until it can soak into the ground and get all the way into those roots. And on that note, be ready to give your tree a few buckets of water. You're going to want to keep pouring it in until it stops soaking in. Whenever you plant a tree, there's going to be a lot of air bubbles released in all that dry dirt when you're pouring water in. We call this process mudding in the tree. It can take a little while, but it's worth it. It'll make your tree a lot healthier once it starts to grow. And our very last thing that we want to do is dress it up with some mulch. Putting some mulch on the berm is going to make sure that whenever rain does happen, that dirt stays a little bit more hydrated than it would. It's going to help this tree hang on to moisture a lot easier and make me have to do a lot of less work. And there we go, my little Herman, all dressed up for his first day in the ground. I swear it's just bark mulch in my eyes, guys. Hey, I see you there. Don't get any funny ideas, Peanut. Herman is family. Plenty of other spots to do your business now. Well, I hope y'all have had a fun time getting to plant Herman with me on this backyard edition of Tree Talk Tuesdays. As always, if you have any questions for us, you can hit us up on our social media right here, or you can check us out at groundworklawrence.org. We'll see you next time.